reaction, but this is just, you don't have to remember. It's just that it happens one hydrogen at a time. Yeah? So I just told you about it now. So we thought about the metabolic substrate that are oxidated by this process called dehydrogenation. The H carrier, right? We have this nice transporter, look like maybe you can imagine as a shuttle or whatever, right, of energy that are NAD plus and FAD in the oxidative form that can be reduced by hydrogenation, and then they are regenerated back in oxidation into the mitochondria. Yeah? However, you should know now that when they release the energy into the mitochondria, these two coenzymes, they are not equivalent in energy. NADH is much more energetic actually than FADH2, and you will understand in a bit why. So NADH always leads eventually to the final production, each molecule, of 2.5 ATP, while FADH2 always leads to 1.5 ATP. Also, something important to remember, it depends where they are produced, but especially NADH, if it's in the mitochondria, this is the amount of ATP that produced, but if NADH is into the cytosol, actually, it produces less, it brings less energy because it needs to be transferred into the mitochondria. The mitochondria has a very impermeable, actually, membrane, and because of that reason, actually, what you have a loss of 1 ATP in the process of transfer. So what I'm supposed to do now with this electron, right? They are entrapped in this molecule. Well, we have the mitochondria, and the mitochondria are the powerhouse of our cells. You heard about it all the time, right? But they really actually are very important to make energy. They have a very, very special structure. This is how they look like. We see this kind of structure coming back, right? We saw in the organ, we saw in the stomach, we saw in the intestine, now we see on cellular level. Well, it's something that we have a lot in our body. This is to increase, of course, the surface. And in this case, the shape is called crystal. The internal liquid is called matrix. Yeah, what's normally you have in the cytosol. This is matrix. And then you have two special membranes. You have an outer membrane and an inner membrane. And because of that, you also have an interspace membrane in between the two. The inner membrane is very, very impermeable. So only molecules that have a specific transporter on this membrane can enter the mitochondria matrix. Otherwise, this cannot happen. Remember this concept, yeah? Mitochondria are site for energy production of all cells except the mature red blood cells because they don't have mitochondria. This is also their survival time in the blood is very low. They are very special because they are the other organelle in the eukaryotic cells that contain their own DNA, yeah? Except the genome, of course. There is it's also look different. It's not a double helix, but it's just a circular DNA with just a very few genes that actually are for the mitochondria themselves, for the protein that are in the mitochondria, yeah? And they have a very special structure. And I always like to say, we only inherit from our mothers. So that's really good, at least all the effort into pregnancy, I think it gets paid out, right? So actually, we only get mitochondria from our mother's side.